Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. Happy New Year, my friends, and I hope your holiday was wonderful. It's slightly freezing out here in Western Massachusetts, but we're showing up, and thank you, Tim, for showing up with your warmies on, and I've got long underwear on, so we can do this. This program today is dedicated to my friend Diane Doheny from New Hampshire, who does the calendar for the Infinite Way program. And she's been a dear friend and always has words of inspiration for me. So thank you, Diane, for being a wonderful mirror for what we both share. And also, the book that I'm talking about today is an advanced, really considered an advanced book of Joel's. It's called The Master Speaks by Joel Goldsmith. It was published in 1962, which is really more toward the end of his life. It was about the life of Christ Jesus, and it's like a textbook. But what is significant for me on the mystical plane is 1962 was the day or the year that I married the love of my life. It lasted 5 years, but that was okay. It was a soulmate. It was a connection that was perfect. And so I even relate to The Master Speaks in 1962 to my wonderful friend David Bennett, who left me two gorgeous children. So The Master Speaks, a textbook about spiritual living and spiritual healing about Christ Jesus. So it's really, there's no gray area in this book. This is all the facts, it's the truth, and it is Joel just presenting the best that I think he has ever presented. But I say that about everything I read about Joel. So if we're going to look at a textbook, we're going to look at the allness of God, because that is really what it's about. Oneness. Consciousness is what I am. We are going beyond mysticism, we're going beyond metaphysical teaching, mental teaching, to actually pure mysticism. And pure mysticism has to be being very conscious of the voice. Consciousness is what we look at, it's what we are. Deep down inside, we are pure spirit, we are the truth, we know. We study the Bible, we study words, we study all kinds of literature about how to be spiritual. But as Joel said, it's not about the books, which is not literary or historic. It's about the word within the knowledge of what these books are saying. So, you know, you can put your books away when you finally get that connection. But right now, I think we all need the inspiration so that we can have an introduction to feeling the peace be still and listening for the voice. This plane we came into, we've got to honor the fact that it's tough. We inherited a lot of beliefs, a world that has fear and hate and loves error, loves to see it in everyone. It's just what we inherited. We weren't told when we were born that we actually have an identity that's not what this is. So it's something to remember, and when we're hard on ourselves, that we're growing slowly. We're supposed to be just putting one foot in front of another and unfolding and developing our consciousness while we're here, because we have an assignment, each one of us, and it will be given to us. Now, I must say not everyone is ready for this thread, this invisible thread of truth that runs around the whole world. We have access to it. It's not the way our mind would look at the truth. It's different than that. Let me explain. We all do have a mind. We all have an ability to project. We all want to storm the kingdom. We all want to manifest things. We all want to work things out mentally. This is where The Master Speaks is so different. It's about grace. It's about not projecting, not asking, not desiring anything, which Joel will say is sin, because anything that's good is not all of that. So you have to let go and you have to listen. And that is not easy for people who are busy like we are. We're all busy here. So how do we listen? We meditate. The Master Speaks says, and the Infinite Way material, which, by the way, this movement started around 1924 when all these other healings were starting to fail. So this is going for the pureness of the conscious connection. The fact that total guidance is with us constantly. We have it all. It's a matter of how do you find it. So if we have to meditate, it means we do find time for it, and that we will do, because we all have the seed planted within us. We didn't come from anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We weren't born. We're not going to die. We're trying to get back to where we were before we got here, which was perfect. We want to go back to the Father's house. So the reason I think we're here is we have an assignment to close the mortal plane and to listen and accept the slow guidance that we all have, that unfolding is a slow process. You'll get wonderful, insights, and then all of a sudden you're completely in the dark. And I speak from personal experience of knowing what it's like to be in the dark and say, oh my God, I forgot who I was for a moment. So if we're going to forget, we forgive ourselves, because forgetting helps us to see where we went wrong, because it's not comfortable. I've said in many programs, if we could really see our enemy as the Son of God, like we all are, we'd really be getting it. To look out at everyone that we know and see how pure they are, even when they don't look that way or act that way, or they're dense or they're not where we are, it matters not. We want to be free. And the only way we're going to be free is to have the vision of the perfection of everyone we know and see. As Joel says, there's a light behind people's eyes. Look for that. It's there. Disregard anything else that is error, that's negative, that's greedy, all of that, so you can be free. Jesus also said his disciples didn't always understand him, and he taught. He was a wonderful teacher, but he doesn't believe you cater to people. In other words, he said, go within yourself. Don't ask me to do your miracles for you. I've shown you how to do it. You see, Jesus was trying to tell us we all have the capacity that he had. We all have the inner strength. We all have the guidance. And the infinite way is saying, you've got it 24/7. That's the point of studying this movement from 1924, is that we meditate, we study, we find friends on the path, if we can, and we go within. Peace be still should be our slogan for life. Peace be still and listen. Again, my friends, don't ask God for anything, and I'll tell you why. If you have it all, what's the point of asking for anything? You see, it's not gonna happen. That's around fear. So you let go and you surrender to the grace. You see, the highest form of consciousness and mysticism is receiving the grace, but you can't do that if you're pounding the kingdom with what you want, where you want to go, what you think you want to heal. There's nothing to heal according to mysticism. So if you set all of that up, if you get reactions to everything, then you're setting up you're getting what the reaction is. You're feeding that to yourself, and only you can malpractice you, as Joel says. Gotta love that comment. Malpractice. Don't react to everything. So I'm asking you to take on a very big order here with what our friend Christ Jesus said, which was, everyone is whole, complete, and perfect. Keep seeing that. Stop, even if your meditation is 15 minutes. You don't have to sit for hours. You have a life to lead, and you have work to do, and you want to be a spirit that's good and loyal and has fidelity and does good works. And Joel says the degree that you give more of your goodness means that you're moving along on the path and you're doing well. The more you love one another. And there are two statements from the Old Testament. Deuteronomy says, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy might. And Leviticus says, love your neighbor as yourself. Now, if you get those two from the Old Testament, you got it. Again, you can walk on water if you want to do the work. Here's another comment. You've got to do it. And that's the brutal message. No one can do this for you. And I think that's what he was trying to tell the disciples who saw the way he was doing his miracles. They wanted to get that secret, but the secret was they have to unfold. They have to reveal the guidance within themselves. So, yes, we can have miracles. We can do this ourselves, but really the job is only ours. We are independent spiritual people. Now, even independent spiritual people mean your family can come second. That's okay. You don't want to depend on anybody. You don't want to depend on your paycheck. You don't want to depend on anything that you think is everything on this plane, because it's not real. It's an illusion. This is a world of false beliefs. It's not the real world. The real world comes from the still small voice. And you know, I've been getting messages lately that blow my mind because I have to really ponder what the heck did that mean. But when I do, I'm sort of blown away. It sneaks in, and it doesn't sneak in for me enough. I don't like the fact that I don't get enough. But you know, Joel says you receive the click, even if it's just a lift. When you stop, when you pause, it's like you look at a clock, you hear a strike, and you think, oh, yes, I know who I am. Take a deep breath, sink into the presence. No, you are never, ever, ever 24/7 without complete guidance. You're self-sustained, self-maintained. You've got everything. You cannot want anything because it's a block. You've got everything. So what you don't have all the time is that still small voice, and how do we get it? Well, as Joel says, we find friends on the path, we work our books, we study, but after that, they say once you get the connection really solidly down, you can throw those books away. I obviously can't do it yet. I get hard on myself because this to me is like, Joel said, he had a reason to live to create the Infinite Way movement. He was lost. He did all his work alone, and it was hard for him. He didn't have the miracles that he wanted because he didn't join with anyone until he really became such a master teacher, where all of a sudden he realized in sharing how much the miracles did start to work. He worked for years. He was a practitioner. He had a history with the church, and he just found that being organized was not what would take him to pure mysticism. So the only organization he feels should belong to folks who want to do that, but your loyalty is only to the Christ within you, of which everyone has it. We're all joined. We're all in this invisible thread going around the world, and to connect to the messages coming from the perfect universe, to get what the thread is saying, you have to be aware. So your mind is an instrument of only awareness. It's not a process. Your mind isn't a process you're going to hang into, well, I think this, that, and the other. No, you sink into the invisible thread and you listen for your very life. Just listen. Those receptive to the message will hear. And those who don't, or who are not receptive, or are nowhere near where you are, it matters not. They will find their way because God will see to it because they have the seed. And these are folks that you can just let go and honor wherever they are, because that's your job. If you want that freedom within you, you see that sometimes it can be really, really hard. We go through all these war stories and we mutter and we complain and we share with others in a negative way, and that's really not the answer. That's not inner freedom. And I think the letting go allows others, when we demonstrate our goodness, without audibly screaming about it, people will see our demonstration more than us bragging about what I know. Sometimes because I'm alone as much as I am, I have a hard time not sharing when I shouldn't. So I'm trying to learn that. That's why Diane Doheny is such a wonderful friend. When I need to go run something by her, she always comes back with something very inspiring. So this is the name of the game, folks. This is what Christ was trying to tell us. So he said, pick up your bed and walk. He said so many things about we don't have diseases. We don't have all of this negative stuff we were born into. Now, I have to admit, my life has been saved by medicine, and I have to also admit that spirit can sometimes guide you through where, if you're not 100%, where you can get your help. There's always that world. There's the world of art and science and theater that God and Christ, the Christ and all of these folks tuned into the thread that would serve the mastery of all the art. Monasteries knew this and took advantage of it. Also, know thyself. The Greeks, the Romans, the Orientals, God spoke to everybody long before all of this to love one another. That's been out forever. Now, I do think sometimes the Orthodox groups can be a little narrow-minded about our perfection. There are thoughts of hell and damnation which don't exist. But again, we're being fed that on this plane, and this plane is going to be dissolved, and it's going to be dissolved in time. Our job is to help dissolve it, to help see in our oneness what's real and what isn't, to speak up about the truth, to act out the truth, to let folks see our integrity, our morality, our loyalness, our feeding one another. Yeah, we're not supposed to be, leaning on salaries and all of that. If you really can get it, that your supply, everything that is within that you are to have, God only knows you better than you do. If you sink into the still small voice, that will come to you. Yeah, he says he knows your needs more than you do, and he also will appear to everyone. Consciousness will appear in so many different ways. Don't expect to compare the way you receive with anybody else, because it's all going to be so unique. We're all very different, and God speaks in myriad ways, sometimes through humor. Oh, sometimes you'll hear a neighbor say something and you just know, by God, there's the answer to what I've been pondering. So we have the Master speaking, and he's very alive today. And even Joel had the capacity of reaching those who had passed on. He became a center of receptivity for his students here and those who had passed over. So it is possible to relate to other planes of existence if you keep, Joel was a master mystic. He learned how to do that. He earned it by his dedication to the still small voice. He was then able to receive. He became a point of receptivity, because I really think Joel Goldsmith was monumental in moving us beyond metaphysics and mental healing. It's not like you don't touch somebody and say you're healed. It's so beyond that. It has nothing to do with anything here except the grace that is a constant factor in our lives. Grace can come as a feeling, as a voice, as a companion, as your dog. Grace is just ever present. You see, God fulfills himself over and over again, because the nature of the universe and God is to keep filling itself up, because that's its nature. So we never have to think God's going to run out on us. We're never going to have to think, oh, well, I've drained him today. That's the end of the story. Vital and alive is your soul. It's a living soul. It breathes, it has courage, it's excited, it wants to share. And so the Master suggests very strongly that we all have a mission, and it will be given to us because we all are spiritual beings. It doesn't have to be in even this kind of world. It can be in art and literature, it can be anywhere. But there's something that you're designed to do before you came here. It was given to you before you got here. And if you haven't found it yet, it doesn't matter. You're evolving in a slow process. I hate the slow process some days. It just seems like forever. But, I'm just shocked at how I related to this. I was a ballet dancer and I was a singer. And all of the careers I've had nothing to do with this, except my Christian Science dad and grandparents in the 1800s who were healers. So that was enough to hear in my household to drop the crumb. And then being widowed at 26, then that sort of really got me in her, because that really baffled me with the babies and everything else. And dealing with that, all of that was choreographed. Even looking at David dying and seeing 1962 when I was married, all of that, those are little miracles that keep you supported. I had another one I must share. Because sometimes, with Joel can contact the other side. One morning on June 16th, I woke up and, I didn't look at the date, I didn't think about it, but I was not in my body. I was in this plane that was not here. It was too perfect for words. And it was peaceful, and there was a light in my room, and it came for a while, and then it left. And as I really thought about it, and it dawned on me, it was my anniversary. And I thought, there's that connection, that when you connect with a soul, it never leaves you. Also, the people that come into your life know you already. It's pre-coexisting. You've got a mirror within you. I had something within me that it got inflamed, or the flame was lit when I read The Infinite Way Material, because I already had it in me, but I couldn't act on it because I didn't understand it until it was ignited by Joel Goldsmith, who just said, no church, no organization. It just brings up politics, and that takes away from the purity of what mysticism is, which is 100% hearing the still small voice. So that's our job, and it's not for lazy people. I love that. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's for those who are courageous and love to work and want to storm the kingdom, and they've got it within them to do it, and they're doing it. And, you know, if it's so right for you, and it is, it will just grow. You will unfold, your consciousness will develop day in and day out as you check in. And as I say, Joel doesn't want you to sit for hours, just rest. Take a moment to remember the allness and perfection of your being that has perfect health, perfect supply, perfect everything. It can seem far out, folks, coming into this plane, which is so inundated with fear and error and disease. It looks like a far cry, but I find it exciting because it makes sense. From where I've been, it makes perfect sense, because life is a mystery, but this isn't. To me, this is pure joy. And yes, pure joy is within. We're all alive, we're joyful, we're happy, we share. Now, here's the big point here. We've got to give it away. We've got to find a way to change the world for better. There's a way all of us can do that, a way to just lift consciousness, because we're all connected with this thread around the world. Anything you do is going to lift everybody else. You're going to negate fear. And as you do that, this mortal world, and Jesus overcame this world, will disappear. It's a matter of time. We're on our way back. We are timeless. We are spaceless. Try to remember that. You're not in this body. This body, Joel teases us about, can you find yourself in there? And if you can look, you're not going to find it. Because you're pure consciousness, and what you're conscious of is you. So does that give you a hint about what you need to be conscious of? If you're just conscious of the voice and the presence and the gift of guidance, that's when your whole world just falls into place, and everything you need, even if you didn't know you need it, you're going to have. It's just the way it works. And that's where miracles come in, and that's the joy and the really fun of asking and resting and taking those moments. Okay, my friends, you've got an assignment. Be patient if you don't know what it is. Be in the assignment you're in now. Maybe you're an adolescent. Maybe you're in college. You've got stuff to do. You know, I've had so many phases and periods in my life where this, even though I was growing spiritually since I was a teenager when I got that light experience, I never lost that. And anything you do is permanent. Anything you grow for never leaves you. Once you got it, you got it. You're not going to say here today, gone tomorrow. Once you've grown into a certain spot, you stay there and you keep moving ahead. But go through all those phases. Keep your studying up. Do what you have to do. You're supposed to be out in the world making it better. In any and every phase, think of all the causes that are out there that need all of us. We all need to find a voice for good too. It's not that we pick on anybody who's evil or who's just lost or sick, frankly delusional or narcissistic. We have to know that our thoughts can actually drown all of that out if we believe this, which I do, that we're all connected spiritually. Yeah, that's the job you can do for this whole world. And it'll come to you because you have a special talent, you have special genes, you had special information when you got here. You will make the world a better place because that's what we do. That gives us joy. In my last couple of minutes, my friends, I totally recommend The Master Speaks. I think it's just mind-blowing for me. When I study this, by the way, I outline it, I read it 100 times, and it's just like, oh, will I ever get it? Can I ever explain it? It's a challenge because it takes a lot of discipline, I must tell you. I had discipline as a dancer. I had a scholarship in New York. I'm a workaholic. I have finished 6 marathons. You know, I got this temperament. So I'm storming this kingdom. And I have to tell you at this point, I've been doing this off and on for 25 years. Not the infinite way, maybe the last 5 or 7, I don't remember. But I will do it until I'm not supposed to do it. And that I can let go of too. I'll just keep showing up. I get wonderful feedback on awakenthedreamtv.com. And it's wonderful that folks watch the programs and they're excited about the infinite way, and they all work together on my website. They all, a few folks come in and are terrified about what I'm talking about, but that's good. It's good. As a matter of fact, anything right now that I see that's coming up, which seems to be, we're running rampant with negativity and error in this day and age, everything's coming up. And I think it's Deepak Chopra that says, until we can look at what it is, can we change it? And I see now a wonderful new 2018 coming, where I see folks saying, yes, I have a voice. I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm seeing stuff that really I don't vibrate to. I want to help. I have a voice for love. I love my neighbors. I love the Muslims. I love this world. I want to feed the hungry. If there's a hurricane, I want to help. You see, everyone, I'm so inspired by humanity right now because it's been a rough year of seeing error, and people are standing up and wanting to be counted. So I'm encouraged in this wonderful new year because we're all on our way anyway. This world will dissolve. Jesus overcame this entire world, and he tells us we can do it too. So my friends, I'll end on meditate, rest in spirit, give thanks. Before you go to bed too, also check in. Your dreams are fascinating. Honor your soul before you go to sleep. If you wake up in the middle of the night, it's a perfect time to check in and just bask and feel the light and feel the peace. It's always there. Christ doesn't make mistakes. Joel says that. Humanity can. You'll get all kinds of ideas that really don't work. So it's like a big, huge 180-degree leap out of this dimension into the fourth with a seventh sense of spiritual intuition, which we all have. That intuition will work for us. Sometimes miracles happen in the strangest ways. I had trees applauding after I did a show and I was talking about blessing the universe. Nothing was applauding except this little path I was on, and I laughed because I thought, yeah, I'll take that. I understand that. The animals, planets, we're all so deeply connected together that they'll all talk to you, but you have to be open to that so-called strange way of living, where the miracles that can come in what you don't want to tell everybody maybe, but I tell anybody anything, and much to my dismay often that I shouldn't. But be open to the invisible thread, because your invisible creates the visible, okay? So if you're going to go from here out, you've got to see what you want to see. Consciousness is what you are and what you become. And it's not you trying to move anything around out there. It's you simply resting in peace. Peace, be still, rest in the presence, and listen. Just listen. See what comes. That's all you have to do. Just see what comes. Their guidance is 24/7. You're to operate that way constantly. You have a companion within. That's where your loyalty and trust is. That's where you step outside your family, anything that you're attached to. You've got that one companion, and that's all you need as you walk hand in hand doing your job. On that note, thank you for joining me today on Awaken the Dream, and I look forward to talking to you again. Happy New Year.